We've all been in tough family spots, right? But some choices, they feel absolutely impossible. And this story, it's about one of those choices. It really forces you to ask some heavy questions about loyalty, sacrifice, and what family even means anymore. So it all boils down to this one incredibly tough question. When things get tight, when everyone needs something, who's the one that has to give something up for everyone else? It's a brutal question, right? And the fact that there's no clear answer is exactly what makes this whole situation so compelling.
Okay, so how on earth did they get to this point? To really get what's happening now, we've got to rewind a bit and look at the huge weight that one person has been carrying all this time.
6 years. Let that sink in for a second. 6 years. That's how long the younger brother in this story has been taking care of his mom full-time, ever since their dad died. I mean, just imagine what 6 years means when you're young. It's an eternity.
And we're not talking about a small sacrifice here. This guy dropped out of college, he was almost done with his degree, he basically just hit pause on his entire future. And to make it all even more intense, he's on the autism spectrum, and he is just completely, absolutely devoted to his mom. He's been doing all of this, shouldering this massive burden pretty much by himself.
And listen to this. This is what the brother himself said. It really gets to the heart of it, He's carrying around this intense guilt from when he was a kid, feeling like he was a financial burden on his parents. And that guilt, it's probably a huge reason why he felt he had to make this kind of life-changing sacrifice for his mom.
All right, so now let's talk about the older brother. He's watching all this happen, he sees the insane sacrifice his younger brother is making, and he feels like he's got to do something. He needs to fix this, and he's come up with a plan.
So his plan, on the surface, sounds pretty simple. Their kids are in school now, right? So he suggests his wife, who used to be a nurse, should go back to work. And the idea is that her entire paycheck would go towards paying for professional care for his mom, and that in turn would free up his younger brother to finally go back to college and get his life back.
And this is his whole justification. He basically feels trapped. He can't move his mom in with them. His wife said, no way, which is a whole other thing. And he sees his brother as his family too, someone he has a duty to help. So he's asking, am I the bad guy here for just trying to figure this all out?
And this is where it all goes wrong. The wife hears this plan, and she is not on board at all. It's not just disagreement, it's total opposition. She sees this from a completely different angle. And that right there, that's the heart of the fight. For the husband, this is about paying back a massive family debt. But for the wife, she sees it as him taking a problem from his family and just dumping it right on top of their family, an unfair burden. See, for the wife, family is very clear. It's her, her husband, and their kids. That's the unit. And in her mind, anything that takes resources or energy away from that core unit isn't a duty, it's a threat. Her priority is the family they built, first and foremost.
And her argument gets even sharper. She feels like he's putting her and the kids second. Like, he's asking her to go back to work, with all the stress that involves. Not to make their life better, but so he can provide less for them and send that money somewhere else. To her, it's a total net loss for their family. Less money and less of her time.
Okay, but let's step away from the emotion and the sense of duty for a second. Because as a lot of people online pointed out, there's a big question about whether the husband's plan is even practical. Like, does the math even work?
What the husband seems to be forgetting is how much value, actual monetary value, a stay-at-home parent provides. The second she goes back to work, they suddenly have to pay for all this stuff. After-school programs, summer camps, someone to watch the kids on sick days, maybe more takeout because there's less time to cook. All those new costs could just swallow her entire paycheck, maybe even more.
Yeah, and it's not like she can just snap her fingers and have a job. People were right to point out she's been out of nursing for years. She'd probably need to take classes just to get her license renewed. And then, trying to find a nursing job with hours that actually work with the school schedule, good luck. Those jobs are super rare and everyone wants them. The husband is really underestimating what he's asking of her.
So when this hit the internet, people were, you can imagine, completely divided. On one hand, you've got a ton of empathy for the brother. This one user, toast_day_fiasco, basically says, look, I've been there. It is a brutal, lonely road and people just don't get the toll it takes. They're arguing his situation just can't continue.
But then, you flip the coin and you get comments like this one from Puzzleheaded Army 316, which just perfectly nails the wife's point of view. They're basically saying, hold on, if my husband told me I had to stop being a stay-at-home mom just so he could ship my entire paycheck off to his mother, yeah, no, I would not be on board. And you can see why, right?
Then there was this third perspective, which was really interesting. A user named Sickonaut said, hey, this doesn't have to be a you win, I lose situation. The husband's mistake wasn't that he wanted to help his brother, it was how he went about it. Instead of just dropping this demand on his wife, what if he had said, hey, we have a problem, let's solve it together. They could have looked into care costs, state assistance, all the options, as a team, instead of him just making her the solution.
And really, this whole story, it's about more than just this one family. It taps into this huge question that so many of us are dealing with right now. What do we actually owe our parents? And how in the world do you balance that with the duties you have to the family you've built for yourself?
There's actually a term for this, the sandwich generation. And this couple, they are a textbook case. They're literally sandwiched, squeezed between the demands of their own kids on one side and their aging parents on the other. And the pressure, both financially and emotionally, is just immense.
So at the end of the day, there's no easy right or wrong answer here. It's just two completely different ideas of what duty means. You can see it laid out here. For the husband, family is a big, sprawling thing that includes his brother and mother, with duties that go way back. For the wife, family is the core unit. Her, him, their kids. And her duty is to protect their future.
And just when you think you've got it all figured out, here's the kicker. The younger brother, the one who's sacrificing everything, he never even asked for this help. He knows how his sister-in-law feels, and he's accepted his situation. This whole conflict, this entire argument, was started by the husband all on his own. It's driven by his guilt and his idea of what's right.
And that leaves us right back where we started, with that impossible question. When the duty you feel to your past slams head-on into the promises you've made for your future, what do you do? Which family comes first?